Yes, this is Anna Pacheco, SantaFe101.com. My guest today is Rich Brown, and he is with the City of Santa Fe. He is the director of the Economic Development Department. Rich, do I have your permission to record this interview?
You do. I want to make a correction. I'm the Director of Economic and Community Development.
And community. So, tell me what that entails.
Sure. So Economic Community Development, it's really a larger department. Community Development is the larger department, but I'm also the Director of Economic Development. And basically what we're doing is we have 5 different departments all in one: land use, arts and culture, tourism, housing, and economic development. And we've merged together to sort of take the synergies that come with the things that we do to work on increasing wealth of our citizens and building the quality of life, because we have 3 main audiences that we work with: businesses, residents, and tourists. So if we look at ways to increase the quality of life for those 3 audiences and increase the wealth and opportunities, or expand opportunities for growth and for wealth for our residents and our businesses, then tourists will come because they see this as a one-stop shop, a place to be.
So let's talk about building wealth, because people that might be watching this, they might be thinking of moving to Santa Fe. And of course, they're going to want to know what they can do when they get here in terms of work. Talk about building wealth.
So from a building wealth side, there's a couple of different paths to take. We are all about accelerating entrepreneurship. So if you come here with an idea, we are all about the pathways. I call it the entrepreneurship journey. We are here and we have lots of different programs where you can take your idea and bake it through our ramp up program, through our social benefit programs, through our food programs, through our incubator program, so that if you have an idea that you've been thinking about, you could actually go through an accelerator program to get there. So we look at entrepreneurship as the way to build wealth. We also look at it as we are diversifying our economy. Right now, we depend upon government and tourism as our major revenue for the city. And we're trying to diversify it by bringing in more food manufacturing, more value-added food avenues, and also technology, and also the creative economy. And one of the interesting things is our creative economy is kind of our leader from that standpoint. So if you think of Meow Wolf, if you think of that, you think of the creative economy. There are all kinds of things that go around that in that creative economy. Disney was a creative economy a long time ago, but Meow Wolf is the new way of looking at that. On the food side, regular food, let's say pet food, salsas, etc., all those foods are what we call value add. So you might have a food from your hometown that you grew up in, that you've loved all your life. We're not talking hot dogs, but some food that you loved all your life. It might be a place where you can actually add value to it. So perfect example of, you just don't drink tea anymore. Sometimes it's infused with oranges or rosemary or chamomiles or something of that nature. So we are looking at accelerating those types of entrepreneurs that will look at an idea and make its way from helping to figure out what it is, proving the concept, finding where your customer base is, onto the growth from that standpoint. So
what about funding? Is there any type of like economic support for these small?
There's economic support when you get to a place where you've built a plan, you've proved your concept, you know who your customer is, and you've filled out a way to scale. So that's what the journey is for you, is that we help people understand that while it's great to have an idea, you have to work hard to make the idea work, to scale. So there are 3 categories from a business standpoint. There's a cottage business that, you're a historian and you work with different customers, but it's not going to be a business where you have 17 franchises around the country. The second layer is a lifestyle business, and a lifestyle business I categorize as a restaurant, a family restaurant. It's great because it'll get your kids through college. You can probably have a small retirement plan, but you've had a great life with it, and you've built something in the community. Now, the third category is an economic-based business, and that business is a business where you build this business, and all of a sudden you're selling it outside your neighborhood, outside your region, outside your nation, outside your world. That's an economic-based business. So you scale it up so that the money you make is coming more from the outside of your state or your city or town than it is from that local location. So all those 3 categories, we have business advisory support for those 3 categories. So when you become an entrepreneur, we want you to think through what that business will be ultimately. So from an entrepreneur standpoint, that's part of that journey that you make.
And then what about young people that are here now, younger people that maybe they're going to the community college or they're doing something, and everybody's saying entrepreneur, we want you to start create something. How do you or is there a program in place for young people to kind of guide them, because, they're just starting out. They don't know, you and I have been in business long enough that we could probably figure out something, but what do we do with younger people that are just starting out, but there maybe aren't a lot of economic opportunities, but we want them to stay here? How can we help young people that are here now?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I'm working through in my head and on paper how to keep our young people here. They are our future. We are all planning for the future. We should not be planning just for the past. We need to plan for the future too. So there are paths, again, I'd say for a young person where I'm trying to figure out how to create some scholarships for certain industries, so that when you go to the community college, when you come out of the community college, it connects you to the healthcare industry. We have an hourglass of demographics where we have a lot of people over 65 and a lot of people under 18. Those people over 65 mainly can afford to have healthcare, but we may not have enough people to work in the next 5 years. It is a burgeoning business that could be something that a young person who wants to be here and have a middle class life, or even better than middle class life, that could fall into that category. So we want to sort of help in two ways. We want to figure out the pathways working with the community college to say, what are the industries that are growing and how can we bring those young people into it so that it's not a 4-year lifestyle degree that you have to get in order to do it. And then two is that we also need to work on the soft skills that come with working in a business or working in a location. Those soft skills include customer service. Those soft skills include working with a computer. Those soft skills include basic, simple math and accounting that needs to happen. So there's two things that need to happen, that you can do the training, but the soft skills get you into the door. So we're working on both of those ways so that young people know that to enter into the workforce, we as a city want to find money, hopefully with grants, to help them go through a pathway that says the easier way out, or the best opportunity comes from this diversified economy I keep talking about, where healthcare and food manufacturing and the technology industry says that their job's going to be here, and we need to train you first, both on the soft skills and on the hard skills.
Now, you said, of course, we're very dependent on government jobs. We are the state capital, and tourism. But let's talk about government jobs. A lot of people, if you get into these jobs, if that's kind of what you like doing,
yes.
That's
yes.
a great, if you can stick it out for 30 years, you'll have a great retirement. How do we get these younger people into positions where, people have been with the state or the city forever, and it's time is there like a mandatory retirement? Or I hate to say it this way, I don't want to push people out, but how do we get young people into these positions and give them a chance now? How does that work?
Yes. It's funny, that's the daily double for me, because I moved here almost 4 years ago, and I now work in government, and I see folks, my colleagues and peers who have been here for 20, 25 years with no succession plan, none. We need to have some young people to bring some fresh blood and fresh ideas into our city government, into our state government and our county government, because in the next 5 years, just like retirees in the workforce, there will be a transfer of skills and transfer of brain power of people retiring who are reaching the 65 mark or reaching the 60-point mark. In the city county, I think that you work 20 years in order to get your full vested for retirement. So you are correct. That is a fantastic avenue. And we need to find a way to fund that sort of apprenticeship or that a way to bring new people in so that we are working through a succession plan so that when the time comes where people start to retire, we're not sitting there with a gaping hole with services that are important to our community.
Well, not just a succession plan, but what about, a lot of these people that are older, they've been in these jobs for a long time, they have all this knowledge, but a lot of these younger people are bringing in, just say technology, old people like me, we're just not so hip on it. How can you kind of integrate, how can you get these people that are, getting closer to retirement to pass on what they know, but to actually help the younger people, are actually helping them with what they can do with technology, because that's going to move it, that's going to move everything. The future is in technology. I mean, we have to get it. So what happens with that?
That is what the succession plan is about. The succession plan is just a general term. We're talking about taking some institutional knowledge and turning it into what to do in the future. So my succession plan says that while that person has all this institutional knowledge, the new person coming in might say, oh my God, I can do that in 5 minutes because I'm a genius at Excel, or I'm a genius at My Sidewalk, or I'm a genius at Slack. I could do all this in 5 minutes. But at the same time, we need to train those folks on some of the other pieces that come with it. And so my thinking around succession planning is that The succession idea is that we need to bring a flock of looking at about 30% of our workforce in the city government, state government, 30% of the workforce. Like, let's find young people that could train and track with those folks so that when the 5-year layer is done or the 2-year layer is done of internship, apprenticeship, those people are ready to fill in that role. It motivates those folks who are near the retirement or saying, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. They know that there's a legacy they're being built. And two, that we have some succession so that our city government is not only working the way it's supposed to, but it's also addressing the future, because the new people that are coming in, most of the young people today have been growing up on digital technology like you cannot believe. So they'll come in with the new fresh eyes. And so that's where the succession planning comes in, is that we also need to think about what's 30 years look like for a city government. You know, what's the current location of the city government right now? So my idea around community development and economic development is that is job training for me. So I need to find out and work with the mayor, city manager, and other leaders to say, how do we find money to start this process for job training so that we are not stuck with a gap of brain drain in the next 5 years because we didn't take the young people and internship them or apprenticeship them so that they could fill in some of these roles. And they're great roles because they can spend the next 20 years themselves doing the job.
But how do we find the money? That's the thing. Where does the money come from?
Find the money is that we are hoping, I'm crossing my fingers right now, is that we are hoping that this federal ARP plan, the American Rescue Plan, that grant money could be used for job training. And job training, it would be, this is one of the ideas you do it. The crazy part is that we're all working remotely, and so you have to work through the technology of how that works. But we have to find the money for it, and we recognize that that's something that'll probably happen in our next fiscal year. But I recognize that it's something that we need to address.
And what about educational credit? I mean, like these younger kids who are like, maybe they're being mentored. Do they get some type of college credit? You know, if they're enrolled in school and they spend half their time, in the workplace environment, but that counts as college credits. How does that work? Because that'd be a great incentive.
It'd be a great incentive. I don't have an answer to that. Sorry, I don't. It's not. It's something that we're actually seeing as a factor or a concept around it. We're doing some things right now with badging from a maker standpoint at the city college. So that's another way where instead of a college degree, you're getting a certificate that you might be useful in a manufacturing arm or a technology arm. From a badging standpoint, that's the kind of the new way. But right now, there is no credit connection for work that's done because it's not connected in, the government is not connected to the education. The public school system, the colleges are very separate from the city government.
And there's no way to bring them together?
Unless we change the Constitution, the state
Constitution. No, I mean, bring a communication.
We're together. We're working together. We're working together. But we're not working together from a standpoint that we can move certificates to work that's been done in the city. We can train people to work in the city, but we can't change certificates to say you have a city certificate. That's something that it's not going to happen. It may happen a couple of years from now, but it's a great idea. It's just that it's not something that's on the radar.
Well, my children are grown and long gone now, but they went to St. Michael's High School, and they had a program in place where they were actually, they had like a medical program, and they were in high school, so that, they were trying to get people interested even in high school to go into the medical profession. And so that's another interesting concept there. But let's switch away from that now. We're kind of, hopefully we're coming out of this COVID nightmare pretty soon, or at least it's going to, everybody's been devastated by this. I think what the city of Santa Fe, a good lesson for all of us is, because I'm also dependent on tourism for my income. What does your next fiscal year look like? What do you think what's going to happen, do you think? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what do you think?
I don't have a crystal ball. Well, I'll tell you a funny story, and then I'll tell you about my crystal ball. So back in January of last year, I asked the mayor, how are we preparing for an earthquake? Because I came from California, and he said, well, we don't have them here. I said, but I don't understand what we're doing to address a catastrophic event or something catastrophic like a recession here. How am I going to stimulate the economy if I'm not addressing this? So we were talking about the budgets coming into the fiscal year. So I was thinking about what we needed to do to address a coming calamity in the year. And sure enough, a month and a half later, of course, we're celebrating it 1 year today. The pandemic hit worldwide, right? So as I see the future myself, I see us actually growing. I see GRT growing. I see tourism coming back. I see us moving to turquoise And I think those are all good signs, especially for the tourism industry. But I also see that the rescue plan that's coming through, this federal plan, will actually increase our economic impact across the country, which will benefit us immensely. One, from the grants that we'll be able to use to do interesting and innovative things, but two, to bring people back. Everybody wants to get out of the house. Everyone wants to get out of the house. So that's going to be a place where, even if it's in a 5-mile radius, 5-hour radius, people are going to want to come to Santa Fe. What we're trying to do is make sure we're prepared with our festivals and our markets and our events and our music and our food, so that we have something to do when you get here. So that's kind of what I see, is that I see the market actually increasing. I see the next fiscal year, from July on, I see a very large tick of growth for all different categories, where our economy will hum along, and that you'll see more jobs open, and also that the tourism will start to come back. And just what we're trying to do is be prepared, so that we are prepared for what we used to have. It'll change, but what we're used to have, so that people who come here and say, I came here for the festival, or I came here for Zozobra, or I came here for the opera. And that's where money is going to start flowing into our city, only just recently from that sector itself.
Well, what'll happen also, and I've already seen it because people have already started booking tours with me again,
Yeah.
is that they're saying, well, we can't travel to Italy yet. I mean, so a lot
Yes.
of well-heeled tourists who want to be traveling abroad, it's probably going to be another year at least.
Yeah.
Before
Yes.
people start venturing internationally. So let's come to Santa Fe, because Santa Fe is a
Yes.
little European city in the United
Yes.
States. One last thing, because we are getting close to the end here. If people are watching this, they're thinking of moving to Santa Fe. Since you've been doing this now at least for 4 years, like, what are types of businesses that this city could, we have so much of everything here, but is there like a business that Santa Fe could really, we're lacking something that you can see?
That's a very good question. I would say myself, I would say that we could use a lot more food entrepreneurs, manufacturing, more food entrepreneurs, selling, not necessarily just, it'd be great to have just foods of New Mexico, but different foods. If you think about, and I don't know if you're a TV watcher, but if you think about all of these new services where they put food in a box and they send it to you, and you heat it up or you blend it and it's ready to go. That's just food everywhere. We need food. So our agricultural area is dying to have some solutions to get the food from the ground across the country. And that means lots of things. It could be processing plants. It could be fermenting plants. It could be testing plants. So that's the kind of entrepreneurship, I think. From another way, if you're coming from another city, you're a scientist, an engineer, even if you're an art major or history major or English major, you could come in and sort of think through, here's an opening, I call it the gray area. Here's a gray area, and how do we address that gray area? Another area, I think, is the tourism industry. It's going to be more hybrid these days, and that's okay. But sometimes when you think about the hybrid, there's always that opportunity to be live. So yes, some people will sort of look at things on a virtual standpoint, but they want to come and see it sometime. They want to come see the plaza, or they want to come see Zozobra. And so it's just making sure that we figure out, and this is a marketing sort of knowledge-based economy, how do we market our city so that you draw people in? You build a base. You don't just have the 10,000 people come here every year. We want 500,000 people in a community, whether it's a Facebook page or a city page or a Santa Fe 101 page. How do we build that market so that they know it's a place to go? How do we do SEO for you so that you get more than 5,000 people on your page? You get 500,000 people on the page. That's another thing. Someone who comes here probably understands that SEO piece. Someone understands the e-commerce piece, right? So that's another area. I think the other piece is that when you look at Meowwood, there are so many fun, interesting things you could do around that creative economy. All kinds of things. You could do small mini theater, movie production, right? You could do building of sets, building of costumes, all kinds of things that could come with it. So those are some of the things I can think off the top of my head that would be interesting if you're moving here. Just if you're thinking, oh, if I woke up this morning and I wanted to do something, what could I do? Those are some things I think that would be sort of fascinating and interesting. And they're in that gray area where opportunity would explode for you.
Well, great. Well, we are at the end of the interview. Is there anything you want to close with? Any parting words of wisdom?
I would say parting words of wisdom, I'd say that we are a fantastic and vibrant city, very creative. I've lived here for 4 years, and I've been in economic development now for about 2 years of that 4. And I would say my hesitancy when I came here was that it was a small little city, living in New York and San Francisco, and now moving here. I thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to see? I am completely impressed with the diversity and the outdoors and the vibrancy and the people who have so welcomed me, that it's a place where you can say that when people talk about Santa Fe, if they think of it as a cool place, it's one of those places that rises to the top when they think about, God, that's a unique place. I need to go there. Or that's a unique place. I never thought about living there, but maybe I could. So I think about the fact that there is opportunity here if you want to come, and there's places and things to do if you don't want to look for opportunity. So both of those things are there in the city, and I welcome them. And as a director of economic development, please call me, and we'll be more than happy to help you find a path, whether it's entrepreneurial or recreation or leisure, or want to be a part of how the city grows.
Okay, well, I'll have your contact details posted along with this video. I do thank you, Rich, and welcome to Santa Fe, my hometown.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you.